You're listening to Real Talk Texas on 570 KLIF News and Information. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert Steve Hakes.
Welcome to Real Talk Texas. I'm your host, Steve Hakes. And one of the things I really like to do with our show here, and what really gives me a lot of enjoyment, is if you're a regular listener, you hear a lot of different topics. We're not always talking about the same thing or about what I do every day, which is mortgages. I'm very curious, and I think our listeners are too. So I try to bring guests into the studio that add value and people that are real experts in their field of industry. And so today in the studio, I've got the pleasure of having two real experts from Affiliated Bank. And we've got Colin Beal, and he's a 20-year veteran of the SBA program. And I've also got Gary Graham. He's our president and CEO of the bank. And I was thinking the other day, I said, a lot of times we're always approaching the consumer. And I know that there's a lot of, this is Texas, and we have a lot of entrepreneurs in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, people that own businesses. So I've tried to think of a topic that might help them as well. And so today we're going to talk about SBA programs and what's available out there. Colin's a real expert. He's graduate of Texas Longhorns. I wanted to bring Colin in really just to talk about what is the SBA program. It's a small business administration program for business owners. Colin, can you just tell me, well, first off, welcome to the studio.
Well, thanks, Steve. We appreciate it.
What I wanted to do first is just kind of dig into, I think there's a lot of mystery about what is an SBA loan. Can I really qualify for it? How do I qualify for it? But let's just talk in general at first about what is the SBA program for businesses. What is it?
Well, Steve, the SBA is a United States government agency that works in partnership with the banking community to help small business owners get loans they otherwise wouldn't qualify for on a conventional basis. And what that really means is that many businesses are newer businesses. They've been coming out of a period of the last few years of struggling. Maybe cash flow's been tight. Maybe they don't have enough collateral to qualify for a conventional loan, and that's where the SBA can help those borrowers get access to capital.
Well, tell me more about the SBA program. How old is it? I mean, how long has this thing been around?
Well, Steve, the SBA originally started as an agency of the Department of Defense in World War II to help returning veterans get reintegrated into society. Later, under the Eisenhower administration, it was converted to a full agency in the United States government, and the program broadened to be available to the general public.
So the average small businesses out there can apply for it. Is there rules or are there guidelines as far as how long you've had to be in business or, those kind of things
right.
to qualify for them?
Sure. Probably 99% of the small businesses out there are going to be eligible for the program. There are no restrictions on how old or how new the business has to be. The limits are primarily based on the size of the business in terms of either its sales or number of employees, and that varies by business type.
Good. And before the show, we were talking, and you said something about in the 70s the program almost went away. What was that about?
Well, in the 70s, the program had very liberal credit guidelines, and the banks were allowed to do some things that over time turned out to be problems, and losses were an issue for the government. So when President Reagan took office, he looked hard at the program and actually came close to ending it. But they reached some agreement to restructure the program, and since then it has been a very solid program for the government. The banking community has really embraced it in the last probably 10 years. And it's just another tool that we use to help the small businessman grow his business.
If you're listening out there and you're wanting more information on the SBA program, stay tuned to the show. We're going to give you a number to text in to get some more information about SBA programs and if it fits your needs as a business owner out there. Gary, I know that Affiliated Bank, we're a community bank. Can you tell me a little bit more about Affiliated Bank, its origins, and why we're doing SBA loans?
Well, Affiliated Bank started in 1959 as a credit union, and we converted to a federal savings bank back in 1998. and that's whenever I came on board with it. And we've grown the bank consistently since then, primarily real estate loans, but as you know, Steve, we've gone out and become a mortgage bank now. We do a lot of mortgage company things. We do construction loans. We do commercial real estate loans. And we like SBA quite a bit because we think that reaches a leg of the market that we really need to be involved in as a community bank. I think the SBA is a whole lot more of a mainstream program than most people think. And as Colin alluded to, back in the 70s, it had gotten the perception that it was just a lender of last resort for small businesses and was very liberal. It's really morphed these days into a mainstream product for people. It's not just for startup businesses or small businesses totally. You can grow a pretty good-sized business. You can borrow up to $5 million in an SBA loan.
What's the minimum loan for a SBA loan?
Well, Steve, there is no minimum. Most banks, however, will set some kind of internal policy limit, and that varies from bank to bank. So the best thing you can do is just contact the bank you're interested in working with and go from there.
Well, one of the things you were telling me, too, which was interesting before the show, was it's not just there are some pretty famous companies that have started with SBA loans.
There are, and most people don't realize this or would never think of this, but companies like Microsoft, Apple, and FedEx all had SBA loans in their infancy. Wow. And so you would never think that today, but 40 years ago, those companies were started by individuals in their houses or garages.
Well, if you're one of those people that are going to be a future Microsoft or FedEx and you're getting started, pull out your cell phone right now, and if you'd like to get some more information, I'm going to give you a number to just send a text SBA to this number. It's our show here at Real Talk Texas. It's 817-925-2546. That's 817-925-2546, and just text SBA. We'll put you in touch with our experts here at Real Talk Texas and get you more information to see if SBA loan fits your needs. So after the break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about what specific types of SBA loans are out there, and we're going to get some examples of the type of businesses that Colin's been able to help through his 20 years of experience in doing SBA loans. You're listening to KLIF 570 News and Information. This is Steve Hakes, your host, Real Talk Texas.